Crying Tiger beef. It's one of those restaurant dishes that you can totally make at home. The secret is in that sauce, that epic sauce. I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks. Okay, so there are a million stories about why this is called crying tiger beef. There's like a tiger that ate something, it was too spicy, it cried, the beef was too tough, the tiger cried, I don't know, so many things. The more important thing though is that we're gonna start off with a really good marinade. That's way more interesting. So first off, we're gonna start with some oyster sauce, some fish sauce, and a little bit of brown sugar. So traditionally this beef would be cooked over charcoal, which means you're gonna get all that charriness and that smoky flavor. But when you're cooking inside at home, I find it helps to add in that little bit of brown sugar because that actually helps the beef caramelize and get a bit charry in the pan. So that's the little secret there. And then get in there with your hands. Give that nice piece of beef a really good little massage. It's like a full-on flavor bomb, this marinade. Umami Central. Now I'm using ribeye, so you could use any kind of beef really. You could use flank, you could use strip loin, anything like that. I like the ribeye, it's got a little bit of fat that runs through it, and I'm a girl that's not afraid of eating fat. Now I'm just gonna let that beef marinate for a few minutes while I get the rest of my dish ready. So we're gonna serve this in a very traditional style today, and I'm gonna make a traditional spicy northeastern Thai dipping sauce called Nam Tim Dao, and it has all of these beautiful ingredients. It's like packed with flavor, it's tangy, it's fish saucy, it's salty, it's everything. It's so good. But first up, we need to make some toasted rice. So toasted rice is made from glutinous rice, and you can do it with regular long grain rice, but I find that the grains don't break up so easily, so it can be, you can get sort of like quite firm chunks of the rice even after you grind it up. So the preference would be for glutinous sticky rice. Look for that in your Asian stores, or a lot of supermarkets now carry it in the rice section. And what you need to do is pour that into a pan, and we're going to toast the rice until it gets really nice and brown. Okay, so this golden color, this is what we're looking for, and the aroma is like popcorn. That's the kind of smell that you're looking for. All toasty and nutty. Now it's going to go into my mortar, and you just want to grind this to a fine powder. And you'll see with the glutinous rice, it breaks up very easily. It turns into a very fine powder. When you're using just regular long grain rice, the grains are a lot firmer, and you'll find that this is not so fine. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And this is gonna do two things to our sauce. It's gonna add a toasted, nutty flavor, and it's also going to thicken the sauce. Now for the liquid part, I want some fish sauce, some tamarind. You can buy tamarind concentrate in jars these days at a lot of supermarkets, or from your Asian grocer, or online as well. And I want some brown sugar. So palm sugar would be the more traditional thing, but I use brown sugar a lot of the time because it's easier for you guys to find. And then of course, because this is a spicy dipping sauce, we want a really good whack, and I mean a good whack of chili powder. Obviously, depending on your taste, you could make it more or less spicy. And then I'm just using some of these very small red Asian shallots. You can also use French eschalots or a little bit of red onion as well. And I want some finely sliced coriander, and then some lime juice, and of course our toasted rice powder. Okay, now that's tasting pretty good. Now I always say with Thai dipping sauces that kind of use the recipe as a guide. One, because limes might be different, you know, where you are. They might be more or less sour. Your brown sugar could be sweeter. But also because everyone likes different things. So I like my sauce to be really quite tangy. So I'm gonna add a little bit more lime juice. And just because I'm me, I'm gonna add even more chili powder. Yeah. That is smashing. It is full on flavor. You get the tangy lime, you get the salty fish sauce, that sour tamarind, and then that sort of toasty nuttiness of the rice. If you guys haven't tried this kind of dipping sauce before, you really need to give this a go. And now for the steak. So there are a million different ways to cook steak, guys. Any way you want to do it is perfectly fine. I'm of the flipping constantly kind of school of thought. I like to keep my beef moving in the pan so I don't get hot spots or too much of the one side of beef cooking than the other, but you do it any way you want to do it, and I'll do it any way I want to do it. Okay, a little bit of oil. The most important thing for me, I think, is to start off and get a really decent hot pan. because the whole thing with beef is that the flavor comes from that color and that caramelization that happens on the outside of your beef. So it's that part that's really important. I'm gonna get my beef straight into there. That's a nice sizzle. Now I do usually just leave it alone just a little bit at the start so I can get some nice color. Smell of that is so good already. It's like that marinade makes everything smell and taste beefier somehow. That's that sugar working its magic that I was talking about earlier. I like to make sure that every single side touches the heat of that pan. Now you can see on both sides of this steak, we've got beautiful color, epic flavor. We're done with getting that. So I'm going to turn the heat down a little, and the rest of this cooking time is just about gently heating that steak through so that it's cooked just to your liking. For me, that's medium rare. Now that is looking very good. I'm going to get it out of the pan onto a plate, and the other key thing, you've heard it a million times, let that steak rest. It needs time for all of those juices that have sort of met up into the middle because of the heat of the pan. All of those juices just need to relax and make everything more tender. So let it do its work, and in the meantime we'll get the rest of our plate ready. So these are snake beans, and the whole point with all of these little side bits and pieces is that the sauce itself is supposed to be super spicy, and then these little bits and pieces on the side are supposed to help cool down the spicy flavor in your mouth. So these snake beans, which you can see are slightly different to green beans, they're quite rough in texture here, but they're very cooling when you chew on them. So these are, mainly available in Asian grocers. You could use green beans if you want as well. And then the same deal with the cabbage. It's about cooling down your mouth. So I want a nice good wedge of cabbage, and then a little bit of greenery with some lettuce. And then we also want, of course, some of our spicy dipping sauce. Okay, and by now our steak should be nice and thoroughly rested. So I'm going to slice it into thin pieces. Always such a great sense of satisfaction when you nail the cooking on a piece of meat. And then see these resting juices? Do not waste a single bit of flavor. You want that on there as well. And there you go, an amazing piece of meat and a beautiful spicy Thai dipping sauce. You guys are gonna love this one. Yeah, so good.